Hello, friends. A few of you have asked me how I go about researching a topic that's controversial, particularly when I don't have a lot of time. So I thought I would just take a few minutes tonight and show you how I do that. And I'll begin by sharing my screen. So I start on my homepage, donald.net, which has politics, religion, climate, war, and science pages. And I go to my politics page, and I have a number of resources here. And the one I like is All Sides. So I click on All Sides. And that brings me to the All Sides website. And they have a number of hot topics that they have researched, and I would be very interested in the antitrust hearing. That was something worth looking at, but I was also interested in what's going on in Portland and the federal officers leaving or not. But in the end, I decided to look at the coronavirus aid plan. And so for this, I go to this, and you see we have three different viewpoints. One from the center, which is from Christian Science Monitor, one from the right, which is Newsmax, and one from the left, which is ABC News. And that doesn't mean that these articles are slanted that way necessarily, but it just means that these news organizations tend to lean one of these ways. And so let's just go through these one at a time. And I'm going to start with ABC News, which is the one that sort of leans to the left. And you can see that their headline emphasizes that the Republicans are far from agreement on their own $1 trillion coronavirus relief bill. And he talks about, like John Kennedy from Louisiana said, that while there is agreement about helping people with unemployment, it's the level of help where they disagree. At the moment, we seem to have unity in disagreement. We're gnawing on different ends of the bone, but at least it's the same bone. Anyway, there is a growing contingent in the party who fear that if enough Republicans do not get on board with a GOP product, Democrats will have an even greater chance at steering the final bill closer to the $3 trillion package passed in the House 2 months ago. As for deficit concerns, something a number of Republicans have cited, Cornyn pushed back, saying that Republicans consulted former President George W. Bush's Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson before the first relief bill, and he said, now is not the time to pull back on spending. Paulson said, this is different from structural problems we're having with entitlements, and that he would expect if we make that investment, that would help make the economy come back and in the long run be a positive thing. And you can see that, well, let me go on. There's one other thing that's pretty interesting here, and that is that the Republicans seem unified on one thing: stripping out an administration request for $1.8 billion for a new FBI headquarters on the current site across from the Trump Hotel in Washington. And this article spends quite a bit of time talking about why in the world did the White House want it? And why did they think that they needed new FBI construction in a crisis funding bill? And certainly the Republicans are correct in saying that there wouldn't be any support for that. But I'm not sure it warranted all of that space in this article. But, you know, it is sort of looking at things from a left-leaning point of view. So let me move on just to the article from Newsmax, which leans a little bit to the right. And of course, you can see that their headline emphasizes that the White House and Democrats tangle over virus relief. And at least the headline says little about the disarray in the Republican Party. But the emphasis here is that Democrats are pushing to extend the $600 for several more months, while Republicans argue that it discourages some workers who had lower paying jobs from seeking employment. And they have proposed temporarily reducing the federal payment to $200, for example. Thune said some in his party don't think that we probably need to be doing anything more at this point in response to coronavirus. Besides the jobless benefit, lawmakers are also arguing over a Republican plan to prevent liability lawsuits against businesses and schools reopening during the pandemic. And then Democrats want to help state and local governments avoid massive layoffs as their revenues dwindle because of the economic slowdown. And the implication is that many Republicans don't see that it's the federal responsibility to bail out state and local governments. And I won't comment about that one way or the other. But let's move on then to the Christian Science Monitor, which this is a very measured headline. Coronavirus relief, the GOP is caught between ideals and economic reality. Both parties say it's urgent for the federal government to continue propping up businesses and average Americans with a new relief bill. But rifts over the size of the package and which elements are most critical remain. And the thing that I like about Christian Science Monitor is they give you two ways to read a story. And I recommend that you come back here and click on Deep Read and read the whole thing, because it'll only take you 6 minutes. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but we don't have that tonight. So I'm just going to come back here and read the last couple paragraphs here. Even many conservatives say that the riskiest move right now would be for government to give too little help rather than too much. And time is of the essence. The cost of the Paycheck Protection Program loans or related business assistance programs is significantly cheaper than the cost of millions of businesses going under. And this is an economic policy expert at the conservative Manhattan Institute. Congress should absolutely spend what it takes to keep businesses afloat. And there are a couple other little, I think I will go back up here and just scroll down here and look at a few things. Republicans want to be less generous in providing extra assistance for unemployed people and more generous toward businesses by shielding them from potential lawsuits over COVID-19 disease. Senator Scott says it's whatever Congress does, it's important to make sure that the investment of taxpayer dollars gets a return. For him, shielding business from liability is key to aiding in an economic recovery, as important as our funds for coronavirus testings. And then Mr. Rydell, while generally sharing the conservative instinct against big government spending, says that the riskiest move right now would be for government to give too little help, not too much, and time is of the essence. And finally, failing to act would be a big election year liability at a time when the economy is operating far below its capacity and the pandemic is not contained. So I'm going to stop here, but well, I'm going to do one other thing and just show you that these are the news organizations and publications that are monitored by all sides. And the one we looked at tonight was ABC News, which is leaning left, and Christian Science Monitor in the center, and Newsmax, which leans a little to the right. And sometimes they will show an article from those that lean strongly left or strongly right, but at least you can see what the full spectrum is, and I really appreciate being able to do that. And so now I'm going to stop and let you get back to your evening activities, and I'll get back to mine. And I appreciate your listening and watching. Thank you.